program, Innovative Planning. Dave's goal today is to present a story based on research. Dave has researched the Nazi attempt to influence our government prior to World War II and the Nazi rise to power. Dave's speech today is 5 to 7 minutes and is titled, "Was Anybody Listening?" Please welcome Dave Schneider, ACSALB. Dave Schneider.
My speech today is about Dell. To get some feeling about what happened in our history, one has to realize that in the overall concept, 1918 World War I ended. Wilson was president, we ended the war, we ended a big boom period of time, a roaring 20s. Everything was great, we were making money hands over fist. Then 1929 came, stock market crash. Depression started. For 10 years we went through really bad times. There wasn't money for food, people couldn't get jobs, and we went through that. So what happened during this time? Were people trying to influence our country? Yes. In 1933, in New York City, United States, at a church called Holy Cross Church on West 187th Street, on Christmas Eve, the people were getting ready to have Christmas Eve services. The priest started coming down the aisle of the church, but a group of men from another country who didn't like the priest's politics were waiting for him, and when the priest got to the front, they took out butcher knives and chopped them up in little pieces in front of everybody in the church.
Wow.
This is the kind of thing when things are started. How do I follow Doug's speech when I have to talk about it? The purpose was to take over American government when the World War was over. They expected the war in Europe to be going on. But Hitler didn't want the United States to get in World War II. Who were these people? Can we go backwards? Oh, does this work? No. Yeah. Okay, some of the people. One person's name was Fritz Kuhn. Fritz Kuhn was a nationalized citizen. He was born in Germany, but he came to the United States and became a naturalized citizen. And he was pro-Hitler. He wanted to follow fascism. And he wanted the Americans to do that. So he started something called the American Bund. B-U-N-D. Bund is a German word that means association. And this was starting, and they were trying to get people to come over to this type of thinking and become, they were anti-Semites, this guy was even anti-Catholic. It was anti-everybody except for the Germans. They went to a lot of cities where there was a lot of people who had immigrated from Germans, who had just left the old fatherland, hoping to entice them to say, yes, we've left Germany, but America is great and we can be just like Germany. So he was trying to go for that. Here's what, he wrote a flyer that said, "The spirit of George Washington will never die. Free American of warmongering and British propaganda. It will become nationalism." Nationalism was the big thing. Nationalism in 1939 meant Nazism. And America First was a big slogan that came out in 1939. We have to, America First. Another guy that came out was Father Coughlin. He was a Catholic priest. He was one of the first people to start using mass media. He used radio. Radio was the new thing that just came out in the early 30s. He was using radio. He had 30 million people listening on the radio to his rants and raves, and he was anti-Semite too. The Catholic Church didn't like him, but he had so many listeners, people were following him. William Dudley Pelley. He started an organization that was pro-Hitler, pro-Nazis, and he started a group called the Silver Shirts. This is comparable to the German, had the brown shirts that went around in mobs and beat people up, and we had our own thing, it was the Silver Shirts. He wanted to become the Fuhrer in the United States. In Germany, we had Hitler, who was the Fuhrer, the leader. In the United States, he was going to be the leader, he was going to call himself the chief. The chief was William Dudley Pelley. He said, "When I'm president with the Silver Shirts and the Federalist armies and police as a police force, I'll do away with the Department of Justice." It sounds funny, but this is what the whole program was, to get rid of the United States government. Then there was a teenage girl. There was dozens of people, but one girl, one woman, 19-year-old teenager named Lucy Bamer, who was hired by these guys to go around and find information from the United States military. She would ride with people in a car, and they'd drive to their military bases and pick up the soldiers who were hitchhiking, trying to get someplace. And so they get in the car, and here's this cute girl, and oh, hi, how are you? What's happening? Well, what's happening at your base? Well, where are you going to be stationed? What's going to be doing? And they'd find out all this information, giving it to her. And years later, she was caught during World War II when everything fell apart, and she went to prison for 5 years, actually. So, this is a period of time when otherwise fine Americans were propagating the party line originally approved by Hitler and his agents, sincerely believing that they were doing good Americanism. So what happened? All these people were trying to gear up America. And Fritz Kuhn, who's the first guy I talked about, had a big rally in New York City on February 20th, 1939. 20,000 people showed up. And here's Americans, a big picture, they're celebrating George Washington's birthday. Here's a big picture of George Washington, swastikas everywhere, American flags everywhere, all the people saying Sieg Heil, and this is great, we're a great country. So what happened? All these people were following this stuff. So what happened? What happened, the thing that changed American history, the single biggest event of the 20th century was Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. What happened there? The Japanese had their interest. They wanted to stop America getting involved in the Pacific, and so they went in and bombed us. What happened? And immediately, it was really bad because we lost like 1,500 men who were killed by the bombing. It was devastating. We lost battleships. We lost our whole fleet. We were screwed. What are we going to do? But the other thing that happened was we got to go to war. If we're going to go to war, we haven't got time for this Nazi crap anymore. So that all went down the drain, and all the Nazi organizations, in fact, the United States went after those people, the government, the FBI, and the State Departments went after these people because they were interested, they were doing things that could be considered anti-American, being against the war. Now that was the one thing that came out of Pearl Harbor. The bad news was the attack, it was really bad. The good news is it changed everybody's mind overnight. And everybody said, okay, we're in a war, let's go get them. So that was over. As far as the people who did this, Fritz Kuhn was a naturalized citizen. He got caught. He got deported. He was investigated for tax evasion. He was given 2.5 years in prison. Then he was deported back to Germany, where he died. It was in obscurity. Coughlin, who was the priest, got kicked out of the Catholic Church and didn't know way, but he kind of died in obscurity. Pele was given 2.5 years in prison for supporting sedition. And Lucy Bamer went to prison for 5 years. One thing she said in front of the court was, she was the 19-year-old girl who was in the car trying to get information from the soldiers that were hitchhiking. And she said, when she went to court, she said that working in espionage was fun. By the way, if any of you ever get arrested for sedition or treason or anything, don't tell the judge it was fun. That's the one thing I got out of this. So everything turned out really bad and for these people. And so I guess the thing is that if you're going to follow a real radical guy like Hitler, you have to be sure that you're right up front, because otherwise when things turn to crap, you could get flushed down the toilet just like everybody else was. Winston Churchill once said, those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it. Madam Toastmaster.